What can a junior dev expect to make in the UK?
It depends on your experience, and it depends on your qualification.
Say sub 1 year.
Okay, 1 year. I would say most junior devs get paid anywhere between maybe 25,000 to 30,000. But I think that a lot of people are starting to realize that developer roles are a lot more important than they previously thought, and I don't see the harm in asking for a lot more, like going up to like 35 to 40,000 pounds. I know like Amazon pay close to like 60,000, 70,000 for their junior roles.
What's going on, YouTube? This video is inspired by the 4th of July. Actually, no, not really, but I was just thinking about that, so I set up these flags back here. The purpose of this video is to compare EU standards to US standards in terms of software development. I was like, you know what, I wonder what it's like in the EU. I kind of have an idea since I teach at a school that's mainly for the EU. But we're interviewing Chong. He's an admin in the Discord, and he is a UK-based developer. So I thought I'd interview him, ask him some questions about EU-based developers. I don't actually know the ratio in Discord of how many people are in the US and how many people are in the EU in the Discord, but this could be helpful for junior devs over there. Generally speaking, there's not that much different. There's some differences in salary, differences in how we run products, like in terms of project management style. There's a little bit difference in expectations when it comes to education, since generally in the EU education is more affordable. If you can look past that, there's not, in terms of like tabs or spaces, it's not like an infinitely long argument there. It's either tabs or spaces, there's not some other EU version. Most of it's pretty similar, and that's why software is so cool, because you can just go from one country to the other if you ever wanted to relocate. Skills are needed everywhere, and they're not too far apart. However, he does give some insights onto how you could find a job in the UK with some specific sites that he uses and what has worked for him. He's been doing it for about 3 years, and he didn't actually start off as a developer. He has a business degree, I think, and he got his foot in the door at a company and then just forced himself into a software position, which is completely viable to do. Totally okay to do that in the software world. You don't always need to just get the position right away. You could just let them know ahead of time that, look, I want to do code. I don't know it right now, but I'll join doing whatever you want me to do, but I want to get to code, or I'm not gonna stick around. And either they'll be like, okay, or they'll be like, you take a hike. And it's worked for multiple people that I know, and it works for him. So that's also a good way to get your foot in the door to do programming. Sometimes you can get a little halted by the politics of the office. Well, if there's just not a position for you, then just leave, or don't do that route. Anyways, guys, we have a Discord, link for the Discord in the description. Give you a personal welcome, call you out if I don't. Want everyone to feel welcome there. Right now we're setting up a 100 days of code challenge. It's not tracked or anything. There's no prize at the end. It's just for personal growth with a little bit of peer pressure to keep everyone accountable. You should be typing some line of code every day. It's like you're typing like a git push somewhere, you're just typing JavaScript function, HTML, something. Just type some code every day. If you want to be a part of it, we're all going to try and stay accountable here and just get some code out, really, so it's impossible or less likely for you to get demotivated while you're doing it, since everyone else will probably be getting stuck also. Anyways, that's what we're doing in the Discord right now. Again, link is in the description. If you want to see more videos like this, hit that little subscribe button. Go follow me on all the social medias. Mainly Instagram is where I post videos of food and me working out, if you're interested in that. I hope you enjoy the video. So we have Chong, also known as Jack. He's a Discord member, Discord admin. We've been talking for a while. He's one of the OG members. You've been here forever, right?
For a while, yeah.
So you have a degree in business, I think you said, and then you learned to code. How did that go in the EU?
The main thing that I did was I pushed myself into a job as a junior, or basically it was an internship. And then it was an internship that started off as a business analyst role, but then I sort of decided I thought I'd take the leap and go into a junior dev role instead. So all of my self-teaching was to try and catch me up on what I was doing at work, to make sure I wasn't slipping behind.
So how many jobs have you had between the first coding and is it the same job that you're in? How's that work?
Yeah, it's the same one.
Have you been well, maybe I shouldn't ask, but like if you apply somewhere, do you get responses?
Yeah.
So do you think do they care about your degree or not as the checkbox? How's that? I know in Europe they're very strict about degrees because education's so much cheaper. They expect you to have one. So how's that work?
Yeah. I think that sort of the blanket statement. I think this is only sort of more prevalent in big companies, but the blanket statement is that they want people to have degrees, and they usually want them to be in a core competency of software development, which would be computer science, computing, or maths. And but I think a lot of people will just take anybody with a degree as long as they've got relevant work experience as well. So, I mean, I haven't applied for any software engineering jobs recently, but I think if I went for one, they'd probably gloss over the degree and focus more on experience.
I know in Germany things go a little bit slower. Everything's by the book, so to speak. A lot of other European countries that just go like by the book. If you don't have one, why not? I mean, it's still possible, but I think in the EU they do things a little bit more strict than the U.S., right? Because the differences in education costs being one of the primary sources, and probably the curriculum standard of like what you're actually learning. Like here in the U.S., everyone's like, oh, you don't need a degree to get a job in the U.S. I mean, in software, right? But in certain other ones, like again, like I always say, like civil engineering, people building a bridge, like I'm not gonna let some self-taught dude make a bridge for everyone in the state to drive over.
Yeah.
That's not gonna happen.
Yeah, I think in general that sort of statement exists here as well, man. Like software engineering, software development, and that it's experience driven. I don't think a degree teaches you what maybe a year or two in doing a software development job could. A lot of the time in the UK, I'm not too sure about like the top universities like Oxford or Cambridge or Manchester or Bristol and that, but I definitely know in the place I went to uni, a lot of the material we learned was outdated. Like one of the sequel books we were studying from was like written in 2001, and you'd like to think that database development has advanced since then. Um, yeah, it, it is one of those checkboxes, but I don't think people learn that much from university. It's all about just getting a foot in the door.
So I want to give some people like some tangible tips where, because I know where to go apply to jobs in the U.S., right? Stack Overflow, Indeed, Monster Jobs. Where do you go? What websites do you use in the EU, especially UK? There's a lot of UK developers that probably watch this. What are some good sites that they can go find some software jobs on?
Well, still Stack Overflow, LinkedIn, Glassdoor is the one I like to recommend people use, just because it's got a really good front end, and Read as well, read.co.uk. A lot of people use that one, and also Indeed. But I think those are ones that are sort of like all over the world as well. Those are the ones that I go on, but they're all more or less the same. The one I'd recommend the most is Glassdoor, just because it's the same as everything. It's just got a really nifty front end on it. But like Stack Overflow and LinkedIn are probably the best ones to go for.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't had much success with LinkedIn. I feel like it's just a copy paste job from Indeed usually.
Yeah.
And I've actually never tried Glassdoor, so I can't speak to that too much, but I'll have to check those out for sure.
Yeah, man.
So, you've been coding for about 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
What are some tips that you would give to be successful? If you could go back in time 3 years, maybe give yourself like a little hack to do something better, get where you want to go faster, what would you tell people?
Okay. Yeah, I think if I could go back, I think the main thing would be to not be afraid of learning new things and not trying. I'd be a bit more self-disciplined in doing online courses or trying to just learn new stuff to build up a portfolio earlier, because then once you get into a job for a year, your only portfolio is within that job if you haven't done anything outside, and then you don't really have much to go on afterwards. So yeah, I think and also learning stuff outside of work will help you would have helped me build confidence in suggesting new solutions or giving estimates on how much I could do something, and then my responsibility on different projects would change, and I'd probably be more invested in projects and have a better time doing it because I'd have more responsibility because I knew more about what I was doing.
So we're going to take some questions from Discord. We have one question. What advice would you give to somebody who's building projects and a portfolio site but doesn't have an eye for design? I've got ideas, the things I want to make, but I'm finding myself not building them because I'm not able to put something original and decent looking together in terms of design and layout. What do you recommend?
Build a vision board. So like go to loads of other, if it's just a web application, find as many other web applications that are similar, or even if they're not similar, just try and find something that's a nice design. And then if we're not talking about like the actual functionality of the website, we're talking more about like the look and feel, user experience. It's just find websites that look good and just stick them up on a little collage and stare at it and see if you can get any motivation that way. Because if people have already made really usable applications or websites, and there's a reason people are using them, then maybe you should learn something from what they've done. Learning from others, basically.
I think when someone says they don't have an eye for design, they've excused themselves from being able to learn it. I mean, it's a learned skill, just like you don't have to be a good designer and design, but you can realize what a good design is. That's how I am. Like, I wouldn't say that I'm like the best UX or UI person, but if you show me a good design, I can tell you this is usable and it looks good. Like, my eyes are focused. Like, it's a skill. It doesn't all have to be creative.
Yeah.
All right. So we got 3 more questions. What are some common issues that you see junior devs struggle with? You've been doing this 3 years. Anything common that you've seen?
Yeah, I think it's mainly a confidence thing. I think a lot of times junior devs know what they're doing. They're in that role because they want to. They know what they're doing, but they still need somebody to come over and tell them that what they're doing is either right or wrong, instead of having the confidence in what they're doing themselves. I mean, let's say if you're on like a really critical project and you might mess something up, then yeah, you might want to ask your superior about it. But I think not having the confidence to trust what you're making would manifest itself really badly later on in your life, because then you're always going to be looking for help and advice instead of like going for it, and then if it's wrong, failing. I guess it is that sort of like being afraid to fail.
Okay, so what are some things you expect them to know that they didn't know, or things that you'd be valuable for every junior dev to know?
For web development, I guess understanding how the DOM works, that's probably pretty crucial. But it's nothing that you can't teach yourself, really. As a junior dev, that's what you're there to like learn. So I guess it's more about understanding how to solve a problem, not how to, like, not knowing exactly, like if you need to write a JavaScript function to do something on a page, it's not knowing what that function is straight off in your head. It's understanding what the problem is and then mapping out what that problem is and then trying to find a technical solution for it. So I guess it's a problem solving.
Okay, last question. What makes you like or more inclined to help a junior dev? Is there any habits, qualities that people look for? If you look at somebody and say, I think this guy's going to go far. Like, this guy, he's got it going. Like, what kind of qualities those people reflect outward?
It's a willingness to learn. If somebody shows that they want to learn something, then I'll go help them straight away. Students working in internships coming up to me asking for help I'll drop what I'm doing to make sure that they are learning when they want to learn as well. I guess this is just like almost like a soft skill thing, is like understanding. If you're a junior dev, you understand like who does what and who likes what. So you can be social as well, because if somebody's your friend, then they're more willing to help you out as well. Understanding the social constructs in the environment in which you're working will help you as well.
Yeah, I know you guys like go out to the pub after work sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
This is the job that I worked at. It's the same job I've worked at since university. Um, they expected me not to know anything, so they just gave me a list of generic questions saying, if you give me an example where you needed to show how you worked within a team.
Okay.
So yeah, honestly, like probably not a really good question for me to answer, to be honest.
So, I mean, that's not true. You just weren't whiteboarded with technical questions because you made a transition within the company, which is not. This isn't a bad thing, right? This is a strategy.
Yeah.
You can go in a different role, and then within that role, move towards a more technical role or something that you want without having to go through these hoops. I think the if you're already in, the company knows you. The company knows how hard you work. They know what you want. I mean, assuming you've been explaining this stuff to them. Then you can kind of, get a different job and then move towards that job, but just make sure that they're aware that, hey, this is my goal, but I'm going to do this for now while I learn. Another question here, just the differences between the US and the UK. Our salaries are very different than yours. Well, I think for the most part, there's not that much of a difference in terms of the mental and the mindset of a programmer. Maybe just the degree qualifications are slightly different, the pay.
Yeah, I think I don't know, man. I don't know if it's like how you think it's about your education and your education system, but it does feel like it's a lot. It's really accessible to get into software development from a like a young person's perspective at the moment, because the university courses for it are really accessible, and because you take I don't know if it's the same, but like the government just give you the money straight away, and then they wait until a year after you graduate before they start getting you to pay your bills back. And in the UK, you have to earn less than 25,000. No, if you're earning less than 25,000 a year, then you don't pay your student loan back anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a lot more accessible for people to get into software development from the university end. I don't know if that's the same in America or not.
Universities have pretty much, some of them have entrance tests, but the standards for the entrance test, unless the top universities here, they're generally pretty easy to get in. You just front the money and they're like, all right, well, you're smart enough. Like, that's kind of how it works. But what about, I don't know, I can't say best practices. Do you comment your code? I think that depends on a person to person, company to company type thing.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I don't know if it doesn't really. I don't know if it comes down to the actual software development, but the whole process from start to finish, I think, is different because of the project management principles or the project management standards that we use.
What does that mean?
So a lot of the US is on PMBOK and the UK is on Prince2. They're project management methodologies, so the way in which work comes to you is going to be different, I guess. PMBOK is, don't quote me on this, I think it's project management body of knowledge, and I don't know what Prince2 stands for, but they're different frameworks for project delivery. So if your project delivery framework is different, then there's going to be one aspect of your actual product development cycle that's going to be different.
You still use agile methodologies there?
A lot of people, I still think a lot of people are subscribed to waterfall methodology in England, and I think one of the big problems at the moment that's going on is that a lot of people are starting to come over to agile, not really realizing what agile is, and then deciding that it doesn't work because of the crappy fragile process that they've implemented, and then they'll move away from it and go into some sort of Frankenstein software development process that doesn't work, or that is uncontrolled. But I think it was 3 years ago or 4 years ago, the UK government made it, I think it's legislation, but any software development organization that wants to work with or provide software solutions to the government has to develop their products in an agile environment. So that changed the game a little bit, I think.
Okay, that's neat. Yeah, we don't have that here. It's just get it done in product over methodology.
Yeah, we do have. I think it depends on the company though. In the big company, where I work, You know, we've got like over 80,000 employees over the world, and it's really process driven. So they want like a precise process on how to deliver anything. But in a small company, then they'd just use the JFDI method like you do.
Okay.
That sounds like just do it, by the way. Just
What else? What else we got? I think that's it.
spelling is different.
Oh God! Take your theater
Color.
and your colors and your favorites somewhere else.
Color is the one that throws everybody off, man. Because like, well, when you're writing CSS, if you're writing CSS, then I mean, you guys spell color wrong, so we have to spell it wrong on our.
We're not wrong. We're just different.